Morning, class. As we move on to week number 3, which we're going to be talking about a little bit of research, a little bit about our informative speech, where we're headed with that. One thing I want to address is making sure that we're staying on track with things. Guys, you need to make sure that you're filling out the requirements on the deadlines. The biggest concern I have right now is we don't have a lot of people that have turned in their intro speech. Like I said in the syllabus, and like I've mentioned multiple times, I do not push my deadlines. I'll make one exception for this week, as it's our first speech. You will get a 10-point reduction if it's turned in by the end of the day today. If not, nothing else I can do. You'll end up with a 0 if it's not turned in by tonight. Biggest reason for that, like I mentioned in our post this morning, is we have a short time period. We're not here for 16 weeks. We're here for 8 weeks. This is going to be a short, gotta get through it type of class. Online classes are rarely allow for any extra exemptions or anything like that. So for the purpose of where we're at right now, I'm going to go ahead and give the extra extension for a 10-point deduction, but after that there's nothing else I can do about it. You see on the points through your syllabus how many points we have available and how much this intro speech was worth. So take it and add it together and make sure you know where you're at. I can help you as you move through, but you need to have better communication. This is a public communications class. This is a class that you need to be able to take responsibility for and speak with me. Let me know what's going on. Let me know if there's a reason why I need to extend something or why something's not turned in, or if you have any questions. You've got to be able to do that. This will help you as you move through your college career. It will help you as you move through your career in general. Communication is key. Like we talked about week 1 and 2, is the fact that communication is something that's going to help you excel throughout your whole entire life. The more confident you are with it, the more educated you are when it comes to communication, the better off you're going to be. With that being said, this week we've got discussion board number 2. I just posted the question a little bit ago. You will go ahead and answer that question, and then you will respond to 2 other students in the class and their responses. All right. So you'll go in where that question is. It says at the bottom, please type something for this class, or type something in response. So you're going to put your response right there, and then you'll just constantly respond. It'll be kind of like an open forum message board. So everybody's going to see. You can kind of choose who you want to respond to and how you want to respond with that. But those are due. That'll be due. Of course, your initial post is due by Thursday, and your responses will be due by Sunday. Moving forward through this week, we're going to be going into chapter 4, effective listening. We're also going to hit on a little bit of research where we're moving with our informative speech. As you see on your PowerPoint for chapter 4, benefits of effective listening in the classroom, making better grades, appreciating communication skills in action, and creating a supportive classroom environment. In the workplace, avoiding misunderstandings, improved performance, enhanced chances for advancement. Like I just mentioned for you guys, the workplace is key. The workplace is something that'll move you forward and help you to get the promotions you're looking for. Get the key points that you need as a professional to help yourself not only financially but in a leadership realm, as in a collaborative group. All right, learning objectives with this one: realizing the benefits of effective listening, understanding the process of listening, overcoming barriers to listening, improving critical listening skills, and evaluating messages. Also becoming a more ethical listener. Like I talked about and like we focused on, listening is not going to be huge for us. It's not going to be something that we have to put a heavy focus on. It'll be something that is tested on your quizzes and on your midterm and final exam. But it's something that we're not going to implement within this class. So we're not going to, unless you're in the open forum presenting, we really don't have any listening per se type of work. You see within the discussion board, the one thing that we have is the ethical listening and how cognitive restructuring can be used within that, so that's something that you can look up and pay attention to. Listening is key, so when you do listen to a speaker or go into I don't know, maybe you're interviewing somebody, when you go into a situation like that, that you can learn about being an ethical listener. Types and functions of listening: comprehensive, critical, and empathic. Barriers to effective listening: noise, inattention, bad listening habits, emotional reactions, and bias. Eliminating bias is one key thing. When you go into listening to a speech, whether it's a political speech, whether it's a professor's speech, whether it's a speech on an award ceremony, everybody's walked into a speech or listened to a speech that they haven't agreed with, just based on their values, their history, what you know as a listener. Eliminate those. An ethical listener does not take those into account and doesn't go in there criticizing or being critical of the speaker. I'm not saying you have to eliminate your values. I'm saying as a listener, to be professional for the speaker, you need to eliminate the opposing side. Yes, you may not agree with what the speaker says. Not everybody does. You're not going to sit there if you're a Republican and listen to a Democrat and 100% believe what they're saying or take into account what they're saying. You're going to sit there and listen to them professionally. Don't have to agree, but you're not going to sit there and have a bad attitude or block out the speaker, because there are points that you might agree with. There are points that might make you think. That's part of education and moving forward in life in general. Critical thinking is huge. The more you think about the opposing sides, the more confidence you can have on your side. Overcoming noise barriers: speakers should animate voice and gestures. This is key when you're going in and presenting your speech. All right? Don't become monotone. Don't sit there and just blah, 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 blah. Come up and have some speak. Have some leverage within your voice. All right? If you're going for a main point, speak up, speak loud. If you're going for something that kind of brings in a joke, animate it a little bit. If you have gestures, such as if I'm presenting to you and I'm talking about this tree right here behind me, I can always point my hand out there and you can see that. That's the gesture I use. If I'm talking about or saying something from the mouth, all right, using hand gestures works. Using hand gestures in a way that helps with your speech, not a way that just kind of is a nervous tick for you. One other advantage as a speaker to overcome those noise barriers: reducing distance between the speaker and the listener. All right, get close to your audience. Feedback that cues the speaker to speak up, kind of cupping your ear, letting people know. Closing doors and windows is another thing. You don't want to present a speech when you have door wide open and people driving past constantly. Making sure that you're in a good, safe, educational environment. Coping with inattention: focus on and paraphrase the message. All right, I know some people get into a presentation where they're sitting there listening and they get really tired of it. They don't want to hear it. The person is dragging on and on and on and on. That happens. All right, so pay attention to and paraphrase the message. Kind of think about the key points within the message and move on from there. Avoid drifting off due to chance associations with words, and consciously minimize distracting personal concerns. All right, leave your personal concerns at the door. Don't bring them in with you. Don't have those sitting there worried about something outside of what the speaker is addressing. To combat poor listening skills: do not feign attention. Do not expect to be entertained. Do not try to multitask. Critique the speaker's message and delivery. Provide quality feedback. Resist undue influence of trigger words. Know and minimize the influence of your biases, and turn off your cell phone. Turning off your cell phone is key. If we were in our classroom setting, when we go into presentations, there is no cell phone use. When you're going into a work presentation, of course, you might have to have it for emergency purposes because your boss needs it on, or you have a child that maybe you have to have your cell phone pay attention to. Put it on vibrate. Put it on silent. You can always pay attention to it. Nowadays, we've got watches that can send you a text message or whatever so that you can see that and it's less distracting. But don't pull out your cell phone and start texting or talking when you're going into a professional speech. Critical listening skills: evaluating supporting information for claims, documenting the credibility of sources, analyzing language use, and examining the use of rhetorical strategies. Key point in here: documenting the credibility of sources. All right. If I'm going to talk to you about this tree behind me and where it comes from and everything else within this tree, what type of tree it is, what kind of animals thrive off of it, I couldn't tell you anything about it. I'm not an expert in that. I'm not going to sit there and quote from somebody that knows nothing. I'm not going to put my opinion onto something that is informative. This leads into our informative speech. So as a listener, my strategy or my background is teaching. My background is coaching. All right, that's where I'm going to stay. As a listener, you're going to sit there. If I start going off on a tangent about this tree, you're going to sit there and I'm going to lose all credibility from you as a listener, and you can't justify that as a speaker. So making sure as a speaker that you're staying on task and staying with something that you know and you understand. Evaluating supporting information: relevance, representativeness, recency, and reliability. These 4 R words are key. All right, these will stay and be on almost every single quiz or test that we have. Relevance: making sure that you're staying relevant, making sure the speaker's staying relevant. If they're talking about a research study that happened in 1975 and it was changed 5 times since 1975, you probably need to think about who that speaker is and where the research comes from. Representativeness: who's the representative here? All right, am I somebody who is a speaker that knows about this idea or about this theme? No, probably not. Or am I somebody that is fully engulfed and I'm talking to you about coaching or leadership within coaching? All right, yes, I'm a representative for that, and it represents the overall topic of the speech. Recency: things that are recent. Are the ideas that you're bringing up, the examples, recent, or are they way old, before your time? And then reliability: are your sources reliable? Are you reliable? All right. Distinguishing facts, inferences, and opinions: facts are verifiable by independent sources and observation. All right. You can pay attention to any speaker and look at who they're quoting, look at any of their facts. Nowadays you can say, hey Google, what's this? And they'll be able to bring it up for you. Inferences, assumptions drawn from the information. All right. Assume things, but don't assume things. Mean that in a way that you assume where they're headed with their speech, but don't assume that they're going down one specific way. All right. Eliminate unnecessary assumptions. Opinions: understand what an opinion is. All right, involving personal judgments. You know that. Everybody should know what your opinion is. My opinion is I really don't care about this tree. Somebody else's opinion: they love these trees. They love this life. They love everything about this environment. For me, my opinion is completely different. All right. Source credibility: are the sources of information documented? All right, this is something that I'll pay attention to. This is something you as a listener need to pay attention to if they're giving you a handout or if you're able to pull up a speech or a written speech and see where the research comes from. Are the sources of information reliable? All right, this goes into our research like I talked about with this week. We're talking about research because you're going to have to use it in your informative speech that's next week. Are the sources reliable? Are you getting it off of Facebook and off of the Babylon Bee? No. All right. No, that stuff is not reliable. Are you getting it off Wikipedia? No, that's not reliable. I can go on there and I can put that Phil McClure is the best public speaking teacher in America because he wears a gray shirt. No, that's not a reliable source. All right. Make sure you're using journals, articles that are written by professionals, people that are pioneers within their industry. All right. Are sources of information trustworthy? All right. Can you trust the author? Is the author somebody that's been on the Republican side of things for 50 years and he's writing a piece on democratic forms of government? Is he trustworthy? I don't know. I mean, you got to really look into that. You got to look into the bias of that. You look at his background. You look at his or her background as a writer or as a speaker, and you find out where they're going, what their background is, and you try to determine, all right, is there a bias? Are they agreeing with two sides? Are they presenting both sides, or are they just presenting one side? Critical red flags: lack of sufficient evidence, lack of quality sources of information, inferences and opinions advanced as facts, vague or incomprehensible language use, inconsistency with what you already know, misuse of emotional appeals, failure to acknowledge opposing views, claims to exclusive knowledge, outlandish promises or guarantees. All right. All of these are critical red flags. These are things that, as a listener, you need to really pay attention to. As your professor, I'm going to pay attention to them. If you're giving me a presentation that has a lot of facts, I'm going to make sure that your facts are on point. I'm going to check them. All right. Because if you're going out there and you're being an unethical speaker, we've got some issues. So make sure you're doing your work, doing your research, being aware of your opinion versus fact. Guidelines for ethical listening: give speakers your undivided attention, set aside bias, kind of the stuff we just talked about. Provide responsive and honest feedback, look for constructive applications, consider the impact of messages on others, and listen to others as you would have them listen to you. Same adage as 100 years ago, all right? Listen, do to others what you would have them do to you, all right? If you're up there speaking and somebody's sitting there twiddling their thumbs, kicking stuff, texting, is that how you want to pay attention as a speaker? No, because it's really hard for you as a speaker, especially if you're a nervous speaker. You get up there, you know somebody's not paying attention, you think that you start second-guessing your ideas, you start second-guessing your points. As an ethical listener, you need to really pay attention to how you're doing that, and as a speaker, you've got to be able to overcome those odds. That's something that with an online class is a little bit of a struggle because you can't really pay attention to that, but in a classroom setting, being able to eliminate the outside, find somewhere to look at to. Pay attention to other people within the classroom, not just the person who's sitting on their cell phone or the unethical listener that's out there. Evaluating speeches, general considerations, these are the things I'll be paying attention to. Commitment, adaptation, purpose, freshness, ethical considerations. Mainly the ethical consideration, making sure you're doing your research ethically, you're speaking ethically. The purpose of your speech, being able to adapt from one side to the other. Those are key points that I'll be paying attention to. Evaluating your speech structure. Does the introduction arouse interest and preview the message? Our main idea is clear and easy to follow. Do transitions effectively connect the main points and parts of the speech? Does the conclusion reinforce the message and provide a sense of closure? All right, it's just like writing a paper when you're coming into a speech. Have a good introduction, like I talked about. First point is key, all right? Anytime you go to meet somebody new, first impression is the most important thing that they'll remember. All right, and then as a conclusion, make sure you're bringing in and tying in all the information you just presented and presenting it in a positive, benefiting way for you and the listeners. Evaluating the presentation: is the speech presented extemporaneously? Like we talked about, or like you'll see as you move through, extemporaneous speaking is key to this class. Speaking without notes, speaking without having a written speech, but being able to come up with and present in a confident, professional manner. Does the speaker's style come across as natural and conversational? Is it natural, or are you predetermined on certain things? Have you practiced it 500 times, and is it just point A, point B, point C, point D without any adaptations or variances? Does the speaker maintain eye contact and audience interaction? Of course, that doesn't really apply much to us. Eye contact is paying attention to your camera. Does the speaker speak loud enough and at an appropriate rate? All right, as you know with me, I speak a little bit faster. In a presentation setting, I would be a little bit less. All right, if I'm presenting a speech, it would be a little bit slower, being able to bring in heavy points and addressing those in a positive way. And our presentation aids used effectively. All right, we will be using presentation aids. You will have to present those in the back side of your camera, so make sure that you're able to use those effectively. Like for me, if I'm talking about this tree, I can sit there and I can point out this tree. You can see this tree throughout the entire speech. As I go through and bring up facts of it, all I have to do is present it. All right, that's a positive and great use of a presentation aid. Providing oral critiques: be supportive and constructive. Begin with something positive. be specific and tactful with criticisms, provide suggestions for improvement, end with something positive, and analyze the speech rather than criticizing the speaker. All right. Chapter 4 is huge. Chapter 4 ties in on everything that we talk about within this class, a lot of the focus within this class. So pay attention to your Chapter 4 PowerPoint. When you're going through your speeches, look at those, reevaluate that PowerPoint, and see where you're at. Make sure you're doing the right things according to that this presentation. All right. If you have any questions at any time, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Like I said, I'm really excited as we move through. Kind of concerned right now, but let's make a change and let's push forward and have a great rest of the semester. All right. I will start presenting more of these because I think this is going to be beneficial for you guys as we move through this semester as well. All right. Good luck. Start working on your informative speech. Start finding some research. If you have any questions on research, let me know. The research paper, research sheets are on there, so you can use those. It'll help you out a little bit. Make sure you're using relevant information and make sure you're finding from professionals in the industry. Don't just find it from somebody who just moved into the industry and doesn't have a background. All right. I want you to inform us on something that's something new to us. If you're a mechanic, inform us on how to do something mechanic. All right. There's how-tos. If you're